Thank you. Thank you so much, Nancy. I appreciate her being here and helping us out this morning with Mary Clark being gone. It is just nice to have you and Dave here, so thank you, thank you. This morning I'm going to introduce those who are here in the meeting house. We have with us this morning, we're starting from the front, going to the back. We have Sharon Reinert, who is here, and on her row, Dave Brumfield and Nancy will be sitting, so we're thankful they are here. Behind them, we have Marcia Holliger and Norm and Karen Peters. It's good to see you guys. Behind them, I have Dave Longnecker and Shirley Erdl and Nita Burton. And behind Nita, I have Dennis Engel and Sally Tucker. So it's good to see all of you. And behind Dennis and Sally, we have Michelle Lilly, Brian Lilly, and at the back, keeping everybody in line is Rob and Val Pearson. So, yeah. And so on the next, in the next section, we have Eileen Critch, who is here with us, and Ellen Craig. And behind them, I have Doug Baker and Cleo McFarland. It's good to see all of you guys here. And behind them, I have Sammy Cox and Grant Cox. It's good to see you. And then Josiah Sherman and Kristen Sherman. It's good to see you guys. You've had some busy weeks. It's good to have you back. And we also have Tom Harold behind Kristen, and Betsy Green behind there. And of course, Ron and I and Nancy up in front. So thank you all for being present on Zoom this morning. We have Dwight Ferguson, and he's not in Bella Vista, Arkansas, he's in Topeka, Kansas. So welcome, Dwight. It's good to have you here, and thank you for helping with Zoom. I appreciate that. We also have Teresa Wallace and Kenny Girton from out at Summers Point. Thank you for being here. We have Bill Wagner, who is here with us this morning. We'll assume Joyce is listening somewhere, but she's not as awake as Bill is, so we're glad Bill is here. We have Bill is from Muncie, Indiana. Lois Hogue and Dave Miller are from Sarasota, Florida, and it's good to have you here this morning. And we have Cliff Painter from Calaveras County, California. It's good to have you here, Cliff. And we have Pat Engel here from Winchester. It's good to see you. We have Nate and Becky Edmonds from Muncie, Indiana. It's good to see you, Becky. I think you're in the sunroom. That's nice to see you guys there this morning. We have Rick Sheff, who is here with us from Pendleton, Indiana. It is good to see you, Rick. Rick's had a busy week too. I'm glad to see you present. Thank you. And we have Janet Ross from here in Winchester. Welcome, Janet. Tony and Marcia Critch from here in Winchester. Welcome, Tony and Marcia. We have Nancy Wolf from Greenfield, Indiana. Welcome, Nancy. We have Suzanne Weber from here in Winchester. Welcome, Suzanne. We have Stan Hendrickson out at Pine Knoll, and it's good to see you here this morning, Stan. We have Betty Locke, who is here with us from out at Summers Point here in Winchester. And we have Susan Simons, who is here with us from Winchester. And Deborah Lilly, not from Modoc. She is here in Winchester. I am so glad Deborah's in Winchester. But she still had trouble getting here to church today, even if she's closer. And we also have Kendra Holliger from here in Richmond, Indiana. So thank you all for being present. I think Ron is going to lead us in a couple hymns.
She always says she thinks I'm going to do this. I've gotten my orders from headquarters. I don't know why she thinks it. She knows I'm coming up here to do this. That's okay. This is a kind of special day because it's World Quaker Day. Quakers don't really like to call a whole lot of attention to themselves, so it's kind of nice that once every year we just stop to remember that there are Quakers in every time zone on this planet. And think about that just a little bit. Wherever it is already Sunday, people have gathered for worship, and in those places where the sun still has to reach, people will be gathering for worship. And you think about that and how we are connected in the Spirit of God with all of those people in all of those places. It's kind of a huge thing, and it's a little bit of a big deal. But we're just us, and we're just here, and we're going to worship the Lord in the manner that we do. But please keep them in mind, and it's on the prayer list. Pray for those folks who have already gathered and those who still will gather in Quaker gatherings around the world today. And ask God to strengthen us. We are talking about renewing our strength as a religious society of friends. Ask the Lord throughout this meeting to use this day when we just pay attention for a second that there are Quakers all over the place, that we really do want to be in unity of proclaiming God's kingdom and inviting others to join it. So we're going to start out doing that by singing some hymns, or a hymn and then a chorus sort of thing. The first one is number 10 in the hymnal, "O Worship the King." And for those who are here in the room, I'm going to ask if you would stand, because this is just a stand-up hymn. Number 10, "O Worship the King." Thank you. Before you sit down, it's Quaker Day. We're friends. Grab a friend's hand and tell them you're glad they're here. Okay, now everybody up here, eyes on the televisions, okay? For those of you who are online, stick your hand out towards your screen and go like this. You are all greeted, and we are glad that you are all here. So it's a mass handshake. That worked out real well. It was effortless. Oh, Pam's now going to post the words of the next song that we're going to sing, because this is not in our hymnal. That's mine. This is Teach Me to Stop and Listen. It's by Ken Miedema. He's blind, if I remember correctly. That was his handicap, right? Mm-hmm. Pam and I got to hear him in a concert in Boise a long, long time ago. And you know, there are just some people that can sit down at a piano and start playing, and you sense the Spirit of God speaking. And Ken Miedema was like that when we heard him. And every time I hear his music, I remember that night in that massive cathedral in Boise. What a wonderful servant of God. So this song has been one that has mattered a whole lot to us from way back then when we were first married. And this is really one of the keystones of Quaker practice, that we need to stop and listen before we act and before we get busy doing all the things that we do. We need to be led by the Spirit, and that's what his message is in this simple chorus. So if you don't know this, everybody in here has the sheet music, and Pam has posted the lyrics for those who are online. So let's see if we can sing this through twice, all right? It's real short and real simple, so we'll sing this through twice. Teach me to stop and listen. Teach me to center down. Teach me the use of silence. Teach me where peace is found. Teach me to hear your calling. Teach me to search your word. Teach me to hear in silence things I have never heard. Teach me to be collected. Teach me to be in tune. Teach me to be directed. Silence will end so soon. Then when it's time for moving, grant it that I may bring to every day and moment peace from a silent spring. Try it again. Teach me to stop and listen. Teach me to center down. Teach me the use of silence. Teach me where peace is found. Teach me to hear your calling. Teach me to search your word. Teach me to hear in silence things I have never heard. Teach me to be collected. Teach me to be in tune. Teach me to be directed. Silence will end so soon. Then when it's time for moving, grant it that I may bring to every day and moment peace from a silent spring. Thank you very much. Just a couple of words. We are going to do things a little differently this morning. Doug Baker will actually be introducing the Ministry and Oversight's role in creating the State of Society report that was sent out at the end of the essay. And he will be talking about stillness and contemplative worship and what an essential part of Quaker worship that is. I've been thinking about this all night, that, there's a difference between silence and stillness. And I don't quibble at all with Midama because I know he knew exactly what I'm talking about. But I make this distinction in my mind that silence is the absence of sound, the absence of noise. Stillness is the presence of the creator of everything that is. They are the same but very different. One is the absence of something, the other is the presence of stillness, the presence of quietness that I think we would all adhere to if we walked into the presence of the God that we knew created us and loves us and sacrificed his life for us. That's what this song is really about. It is about stillness. It is about that presence of God's Spirit that quiets all earthly activity. So I hope that we can all worship today in stillness, even as speaking will happen. That stillness is what we long for in our souls. Just a few introductory remarks from me, and then I'm going to go sit down and let the ministry and oversight members pick this up. I put in the introduction of what was sent out yesterday that the Ministry and Oversight for many years now has prepared a State of Society report, which is simply a moment to stop at the end of a church year and the beginning of a new one, to assess the spiritual condition of our meeting. It's just, I remember, and I wish I could remember who first said this, but some wise philosopher has said, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I have felt like that was a really true thing for a very long time. We need to constantly be aware of what we are doing and making sure that we are living in obedience to God. And this is a chance to do that collectively with the State of Society. We have then adopted this pattern of using the State of Society report for World Quaker Day. They're almost 3 months apart from when this was approved by the monthly meeting and today. But it still gives us an opportunity as a faith community to think about what the ministry and oversight saw at the end of the last church year. So I want to read some scripture that relates to what was sent out. The first of these is from Isaiah chapter 40, and this was at the top of the State of Society report. This is Isaiah chapter 40, starting with verse 28. And just a reminder, Isaiah, for the first 39 chapters, was pretty harsh in what he wrote to the Judeans, because it was sort of before the exile got started and as the exile was underway. And he was explaining to them why this happened, why people's sin had resulted in their captivity and hauling off to Babylon. In the 40th chapter of Isaiah, it's like he shifts gears. And all of a sudden, he is prophesying hope to those who are being held captive in Babylon, to remind them that God is still present, that God is not in Jerusalem, God is everywhere, to remind them that God still has a purpose for them as a people, and that God will bring them back to Jerusalem if they will be patient and wait for him. And so this 40th chapter is just full of hope and full of promise, and it ends with these words: "Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow weary. He will not grow tired. His understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." It has been my conviction for quite some time, and I put this in that sort of last paragraph of my part of writing what went out yesterday. It's these last really years, have been kind of overwhelming, and it's given me at least a little tiny taste of what those Israelites must have felt in Babylon. When you think about all the wars that are going on and the climate crisis that seems to threaten the very existence of the earth, and the economic problems that people are struggling with, and the culture war that is going on in our own society, and on and on and on, it's really hard not to get discouraged because of all of that trouble and all of that tumult. And to hear these words spoken into our time of trouble, much like Isaiah's words spoken into Israel's time of trouble, just smooth the water if we will pay attention and truly listen to the Lord. And so this message from Isaiah, I think, is extremely important. The other passage that I'll read is the passage from Galatians chapter 5 that is the theme of World Quaker Day for 2025. They listed only the 14th verse, but I think I said on Wednesday night maybe, I'm going to add the 13th verse too, because these two things they were written right together for a reason. Galatians chapter 5, verse 13 and 14 says this: "You, my brothers, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the sinful nature. Rather, serve one another in love. The entire law is summed up in a single command: love your neighbor as yourself." That is the theme that the Friends World Committee on Consultation chose for this year's World Quaker Day, and it certainly seems to fit our times. There are a lot of people who seem to be using freedom to indulge the sinful nature. We as friends, we as followers of Jesus Christ, need to stand out as those who instead love our neighbors as ourselves and not use our freedom to indulge the sinful nature. Those are extremely important things for us in our witness as the Religious Society of Friends. The M&O members helped to craft the State of Society report. We got together and we talked, and I really just simply asked them, what does this mean in the words of Isaiah, to mount up with wings like eagles? What does it mean for us to have our strength renewed because we have quieted our hearts before the Lord? What does it require for our strength to be renewed if we want to take that promise seriously? So they started talking and I just made notes, and these 7 things that are in bold on the essay that we passed around were things that they didn't say in these exact words, but they are things that they mentioned. And I asked them to take part in today rather than just me. So Doug Baker will start this off by talking about that first highlighted, right behind it, that first highlighted thing. This is my right paper up here. Oh, Pam's going to change the camera. This is worship as listening first. Listen first. Doug?
Okay, Ron has already given a good introduction to my topic of silent worship, which has been noteworthy and has made it's one of the things that people know most about Quakers, and it's certainly one that is that I personally am drawn to. In my reckoning, quiet is a passive absence of sound, and silent worship is active, expectant waiting. Quakers believe in silence. There's interaction with the divine that's much more likely than with cluttered noise in our head. But the struggle becomes between silence and our natural urge to speak our thoughts and speak our concerns and give voice to those. And that reminds me of an Arabic expression I heard years ago. I don't know the source, but it is: prayer is you talking to God. Meditation is God talking to you. The struggle between vocalization and meditation is centuries old. It goes back to the earliest Christians. Diadochus of Phattiki was a 5th century ascetic in northwest Greece. Yet he seems contemporary in our time with our social distractions and smartphones that Ron has mentioned once or twice. He wrote, when the door of the steam baths is continually left open, the heat inside rapidly escapes through it. Likewise, the soul, in its desire to say many things, dissipates its remembrance of God through the door of speech. Years ago, I was very fortunate. I participated in a weekend retreat with Cynthia Bourgeot, who is kind of a leading light of contemplative prayer and centering prayer. And she led us in several exercises. One afternoon on chanting. She has a degree in medieval studies. And Cynthia told us that the purpose of medieval chants, and even in times afterwards, was to focus the mind in such a way that it would leave space for that still small voice that God promises. But we need to be able to listen, and in order to do that, we need to clear. And so she taught us a chant, several chants, but one has stayed with me and which I use nearly every day. And it is taken from Psalms 46, be still and know that I am God. And I'm going to ask you to join me in a chant. A chant is nothing more than one tone, held generally with one breath, speaking a variety of words. And I will indicate when we change words and when we stop at the end of each phrase. Okay? Join in if you can. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. And then silence is ready for the still small voice.
Amen. Next is Brian Lilly, speaking of depending on God's strength and not our own.
The idea of speaking in God's strength and not our own comes from 2 Chronicles 20:6 through 12, where Jehoshaphat is told that there are troops coming to attack them, and instead of reacting immediately and mustering the troops and sending them out, he basically calls a clearness committee to determine what to do. And so all of these people are praying and asking God for direction. And in the end, he's told that the situation is in God's hand, and they don't really need to do anything but just go out and be there. We may not be fighting battles against an invading army, but it's important that we seek God's help in the battles of life that we are fighting. God already knows the outcome and will guide us if we seek Him. And it's in our times of worship, both as individuals and corporately, that we can seek God's guidance in these battles that lie before us. I can think of many times as a meeting that we've come across tough decisions that need to be made, and we're better for having made them together, seeking seeking God to know how we should act or not act. And I think it's important that we continue to do that, and that we realize that during these times that's what we should be doing.
Next will be online Marcia Critch, and she will be addressing holy patience and holy persistence. See if we can get her unmuted.
Good.
There you go.
Okay. In doing God's work, we honor the creative tension between both being patient to wait for the Lord's timing and leading, and being persistent and never quitting or giving up. In James 1, 2, 3, 4, it reads, "When your life is full of difficulties and temptations, be happy. For when the way is rough, your patience have a chance to grow. So let it grow. Don't try to squirm out of your problems. For when your patience is finally in full bloom, then you will be ready for anything, strong in character, full and complete." Patience is something that I have a lot of trouble with, and I have to focus on every day. I can definitely tell a difference when I pray for patience and when I haven't. It's amazing how much better my day goes when I pray for patience, thank God for what He has done, and focus on Him and let Him lead my way. And the church really isn't that much different, I don't think. Church may not be what it used to be, may not be exactly what we would hope for it to be, but we keep trying. Through all the difficulties we've faced over the years, losing so many loved ones, COVID, world crisis, sickness, we just keep doing what we can and staying faithful. We can ask for families to come, reach out to them, try to find new ways to make God visible, but we can't make people come. That's God's part of it. So we patiently wait, do what we can, and let God lead. Over the past 10 years, things have changed a lot. We wouldn't even thought about Zoom. And now we have the gift of Zoom. We can worship with people from all over. Tony and I can sit here in our dining room, still be a part of the church service and worship with you guys. God is amazing what He has done. He's brought Kendra back from college to be with us again. He's brought Grant and Sammy and the Shermans to bring younger lives into our service. What a blessing. God is so good. Dear Lord, keep us faithful. In Galatians 6:9, it reads, "And let us not get tired of doing what is right." And let us not get tired of doing what is right. For after a while, we will reap a harvest of blessings if we don't get discouraged and we don't give up. God is good.
Amen. Ellen Craig is next to talk about living in community, redemptive community.
Waiting upon the Lord includes nurturing a strong, loving faith community, heeding the early Quaker admonitions of knowing one another in the things that are eternal, and watching over one another for good. Is our meeting flourishing? We are when we know one another in the things that are eternal and are generous in caring for each other. Caring for each other is why we are glad to see each other every Sunday, either in person or on Zoom, and why we love to work together. And of course, I have to talk about apple dumpling because that's what we're just finishing. But I'm thinking of how much community is involved in that project. It starts off with, well, I think Marcia and Pam were both working on finding the apples and getting the dough and getting everything ready. And then it's different parts of us, but we don't all have to be together at the same time to be a community. We can be a community of workers in different ways. And there then was the making of the apple dumplings. There was a good crew doing that. There was then the baking, and that does that, gets that going always for us, and there is so much in that project that is great. And this year we really got to get more acquainted with some of our newer members. One was Betsy Green that I got to work with on Thursday night, and then I think Friday night it was Grant and Sammy. So I'm not going to name every one of us. We would be here a long time, but I do appreciate that. And when we work together, we get comfortable with each other and we get to know each other, and that helps us to become closer to knowing that of God in each one. The Bible study, Betsy has been there. That has helped me to know Betsy. I feel like there's so many ways that we really need to pay attention, and caring for each other costs nothing. It doesn't mean you have to buy something for them or it means that we need to care. So see them and love them.
Next will be Sharon Reinard, and she is talking about living with realistic hope. Two things that sometimes seem to be in contradiction, but we can make them cooperate.
Well, for my part, is based on hope. I think with all the challenging situations in the world today, being Christ's disciples can seem like an almost impossible task. Sometimes we really feel helpless that we can't do anything to improve any of the world's situations. But with the way our congregation has put all of these world situations in prayer every day, prayer and turning them over to the Lord, it seems to be the best way that we can solve these problems. And waiting and hoping and watching for what He is going to do, because it seems impossible that we can do anything. But I did find one way that I could help in a small way with one problem, which is the environment, and this is just on my part. I've planted trees and I've planted flowers on a little acre that I have beside the property where I live. And that helps me to feel like I'm contributing one small part to helping the world while I'm waiting on the Lord to do his part to do bigger things.
Very good.
Thank you, Sharon.
And now Pam is going to talk about, really about Friends' testimony of universal ministry, that regardless of how we make our living, everyone has a ministry if they will accept it from the Lord.
And I'm not speaking for myself, I'm speaking for Dave Longnecker, who is busy trying to get the camera going where it needs to go. I'm standing at a table, most of you don't know. This is a table that is raised, and a couple, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was leaning on it and it collapsed. And so for a couple weeks, I was trying to get it centered, and we've just been kind of making do. And Dave came in and fixed the table for me. I am so pleased. And now I have my table normal, and it works well. But it just has reminded me over and over and over again that what happens here on Sunday mornings is just a small piece of what our lives are about. It is about service. It is about taking care of things like this table. It is also about those of you who are spending hours and hours working at the food pantry. There are many ways that we can serve people in this world, not because they deserve it, but because we are wanting to be people who recognize that of God in every person, regardless of who they are or what they're doing. I don't know what I would do without Dave, because through the week he helps a lot, an awful lot. He helps get bread every week to the food pantry. He doesn't want to deal with people, but he is really happy to help feed them. And that is the thing that we as Quakers need to be paying attention to, that there are a lot of people that need to be fed, both spiritually, emotionally, and physically in our world. And our job is to do that. And I'm so thankful for all of you who do that. Those who are online, I know that you are serving others in incredible ways, and I thank you for that. And I know those who are here are serving people in an incredible way, and I thank you for that. So service and recognizing that of God is the bottom line for all of us.
Our clerk of Ministry and Oversight, Cleo McFarland, will kind of wrap this up, talking about the theme of World Quaker Day, to love our neighbor as ourselves.
To me, what it means to be a Quaker is to literally invite God into our life. It is speaking truth with integrity. It is to love your neighbor with no exception. If a stranger asks you if you're a Christian, you should answer with, "Why don't you ask my neighbor?" In John chapter 13, Jesus told his disciples, "A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. By this they will know you are my disciples." Quakers are known for speaking truth. It used to be that a word of mouth and a handshake was all the contract a person needed. That came from the fact that Quakers were honest, and when a Quaker said they would do something, they kept their word. That is truth with integrity. Quakers were always trusted and admired for their honesty. Being a Christian is to be Christ-like, to emulate Jesus as an example for how we should live our lives and love others. We don't get to choose who we should love. we're supposed to show love to everyone. We, like the disciples, have been given a commission to love one another just as Jesus did. Did Jesus love Judas? Yes, he did. And he knew that Judas was going to betray him. Jesus was heartbroken, but he loved Judas. Jesus went to the cross and died a horrible death, crucifixion. No man could love any more than give his life in such a manner as Jesus did. And he was blameless. That is the integrity of a true Quaker. That is what it means to make me, or to me, to be a Quaker, is honest integrity and a love with no end. In my heart, I wish that all Christians could be that kind of a Christian. It is my prayer that Jesus will continue to walk with me as I go through life's journey and teach me each day to be more like him. To me, that is what it means to be a Quaker, always steadfast and obedient, never swaying against the pressure that our society throws at us. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 23 and 24, it's what it means to wait upon the Lord. Verse 23 says, to be made new in the attitude of your minds. And verse 24, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. Waiting upon the Lord means fulfilling what Jesus said were the law's greatest commands, to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbors as ourselves, without exception, because the Lord enables us to see that of God in all others. Oftentimes, I have trouble with that one, but I'm working on it. That is my thoughts on what it means to be a Quaker. Thank you.
We want to use the rest of this time to give those who are in attendance today the opportunity to also express what is on your hearts regarding this subject. We've posed some queries at the end of what was sent out last night. The first one is, why is pausing periodically to consider a faith community's and our own personal spiritual condition a wise practice? Number two, what other ways of waiting upon the Lord do you know or know about or practice besides these 7 that you have heard about here? Number 3, what aspects of Quakers' somewhat unique Christian message and their somewhat unique practice, what of that is most meaningful or helpful to you? And number 4, what makes it possible for Jesus followers to live with both unvarnished realism and life-giving hope? There may be other things that have come to your mind as you've listened. We would welcome you to share those things because it may help somebody here who needs to hear exactly what you have to say. We won't take this forever, but we do want to allow time for friends to respond. We'll wait patiently before the Lord and trust that you'll be obedient.
Well, I'd like to share this with you really quickly. It's just a quote from Mohandas Gandhi. It is better in prayer to have a heart without words than words without a heart.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the people on Ministry and Oversight for their different blends and their ideas, and to keep our church alive. I really appreciate that. Just wanted to tell you thank you.
I just wanted to give you something to think about. If I gave you a grocery list, what would you do with it? God gives each one of us a grocery list. That grocery list is food for the soul, and he wants us to share it with others. Just think about that.
Thank you.
I'd like to respond to number one. Why is pausing periodically to consider a faith community and our personal spiritual condition a wise practice? Well, sometimes we're so busy in our lives, living our lives, that we aren't appreciative or understanding if we're doing correctly. Sometimes we need to look back, take an inventory. Have we grown? Where am I needing to put my energies, my time, my prayers? It's like balancing a checkbook. You got to see if you've got any money in there. Well, do you have any investment in the Lord's service? And I think it's wise for us to think about that.
Thank you.
I think when I was talking about community, the thing I kind of left off was that I want to touch on is our Zoom community again. I really so much appreciate what you all mean to all of us, and I wanted especially to mention on apple dumplings that Kenny Girton went to work and found us the right apparatus to get the core out of the apples when we were getting them peeled without having them all sliced into little thin slices that we didn't want. So you guys all are a part of us and are working at this. Kenny always worked with apple dumplings when he was able, but he's still able to figure this out and find the thing that none of us had hit on and got it for us. So I appreciate all of you, and it's just special that you're here, and I think we're all community, and I hope you feel it.
We are just about to the top of the hour, but I again do not want to steal anyone's opportunity to be obedient, to share something that someone else may need to hear. So we'll wait for another minute. If you know that you should speak, please do so.
My husband says I talk too much, but I'm going to use this time and share something. I want to thank everyone who's been so kind and welcoming to me. From the first minute that I walked into the church, I felt that warmth. There's a difference, and I think of this song, Sweet, Sweet Spirit. I've known this song for a long time. There's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place, and I know that it's the Spirit of the Lord, and that is what makes it the difference. There are sweet expressions on each face, and I know that it's the presence of the Lord, and that says it all, and I thank you.
Thank you.
If all hearts are clear, I'm going to ask if we could turn to a Quaker hymn, or at least a hymn written by a Quaker, John Greenleaf Whittier. It's been a few years, but his stuff endures. This is number 427 in our hymnal. We've used this many times, but it seems really appropriate to sing this together. And this is a prayer, Dear Lord and Father of mankind. And it is a prayer for our own meeting. It's a prayer for our own lives, but also a prayer for the wider society of friends and the religious society of friends around the world. We need the Lord's help to be effective in his work. And that's what this prayer is all about. 427, Dear Lord and Father. Thank you all very much. Thank you for the good things that have been shared today. I think we've all learned and sensed God speaking, and that was through you all. I do want to add my word of thanks to the Ministry and Oversight for participating so fully today. You can't quite believe, when you're the employee of this place, it's awfully wonderful to have bosses like the folks that we work with on the Ministry and Oversight. And that's a bad metaphor, really, because we are just all ministers, and we're working together to try to be obedient to the Lord. But our supervisors have been so kind and so understanding to Pam and me, and we hope you know how grateful we are and how much we respect your ministries. So thank you to all of you. Before we go, we need to make sure that friends know what's happening around here this week and also look at some prayer concerns. At the top of our sheet today, the little box that says this week says that on Tuesday, the 7th of October, there will be a USFW meeting that will be at 2 o'clock, afternoon meeting here in the meeting house. So ladies, all are invited and urged to come and attend and participate. On Wednesday, the 8th of October, there will be prayer soup supper over at the parsonage at 5:30. That will be followed by October's monthly meeting for business at 7 o'clock. That will be held by Zoom. And there will not be Sunday school class Zooms, no welcome class Bible study on Wednesday this week. On Thursday, the 9th of October, the two choirs will meet, vocal choir at 6:30 and the chiming choir then at 7:15, both here in the choir room. And next Sunday, the 12th of October, we will be right back here at the same time and in the same manner at 10 o'clock for worship sharing. And we hope that you will join us, and always hope that you will bring a friend. We do want to express thanks to all who took part in this past week's apple dumpling project and sales for the USFW. They gave us a list of statistics, and so for those of you online, this is what it says. The USFW made 640 apple dumplings and froze them last Saturday, a week ago. And this week, they have sold 324 of those in baked form, ready to eat. I think they sold another 50 or so in frozen form to take home. And they still have about 265 frozen, unbaked dumplings in the freezer downstairs because they knew that friends were going to want them for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So get your orders in quick because they'll go fast. But there are about over 250 dumplings available for the holiday season. And they also note that after paying for all the expenses of the apples and all the ingredients and all of that and some hardware that had to be purchased, they still have turned at least $1,400 in profit, and they still have 265 dumplings to sell. So this is going to be a really good and successful project, and we thank you all. You have supported missions primarily, the ministries of Our Ladies and their work with missions. So that money will go to a wonderful, godly cause. Let's see here.
Hey, Ron.
Yes.
On that, we like to encourage people to go downstairs in the basement and buy their apple dumplings, the frozen ones. And there's some supplies that's left on the table. If they could pick up some of sugar or milk or cornstarch, if they would like to purchase that, the prices is on it down there. And that cost, I'll have to say that some people, it may not include a true cost because there was butter and sugar and spoons and forks that was already had or that we had that wasn't included in that. But I want to just thank everybody for all of their help and work on that. We are blessed. God is so good to us.
Thank you, Marcia. We saw you around here a lot this week too, and we'll point out that some of the corn syrup and some of those other things that she just mentioned are actually over there in the little red wagon. You don't even have to go downstairs. It's a blue light special. I have no idea what they're charging for any of that stuff. But anyway, thank you. Also over there in the parlor today, you'll see tomatoes. Those came to the food pantry, and they should be used quickly. So and there's a bunch more at the food pantry that may not survive till Monday evening shift. So if you could use some tomatoes today, please help yourself over there. And there are also Kristen's kitchen items over in the pantry. We weren't sure that there would be any, and lo and behold, Josiah came in just overloaded with pies and popcorn. So please take a look over there on the table for Kristen's kitchen stuff as well. There is an offering plate at the entrance to the parlor that is there to receive friends' contributions to support the ministries of our church. Thank you, each and every one, for the way that you do that so faithfully. The Lord bless you for that. I've already mentioned the USFW meeting at 2 o'clock on Tuesday this week, and the monthly meeting at 7 o'clock on Wednesday this week. The Welcome Class Bible Study's next gathering will be on Wednesday, the 15th of October, and we'll be looking at lesson number 10. So if you're one that studies ahead, be sure and be looking at lesson number 10. There are also new Fruit of the Vine daily devotionals over on the table, and they are there for free. Pam is not featured in this particular issue, I don't think. I just can't believe she didn't write something for this issue. But still, you don't want to miss those, so if you're a Fruit of the Vine reader, please pick up your copy. We're a few days into the month already, but they came really late in the mail. That's all the announcements that we need to make. I think on the other side of this sheet is our prayer concerns list. At the top of that list is Susie Turner. She is at Pine Knoll. We believe that she is receiving hospice care, but we haven't been able to actually witness hard evidence of that. But she is in declining health, and your prayers for Susie and for her family would be very much appreciated. Next on the list is Stan Hendrickson. He's also out at Pine Knoll, recuperating after breaking some bones in a fall at home about 10 days ago. Please pray for Stan that he will get stronger and that he can recuperate as quickly as possible and get back to being a mobile person once again. Becky Edmonds has been with us along with Nate over in Muncie at Morrison Woods. Please pray for her as she continues doing rehabilitative therapy there in preparation to get back home where she belongs. And Val Pearson asked us last week to be sure and pray for their nephew, Josh Lay, who is receiving medical attention and probably some treatment for carotid artery blockage. He's way too young for that, so we need to pray that he can get healthy really soon. Doug Baker told Pam this past week that he had received a text message from Dwight Dwiggins in South Carolina that Caroline has been placed on hospice care now, that her condition has deteriorated and she needed hospice care. So please pray for Carolyn, and it is Dwight, right? Doug, sorry. There's a Dwight Dwiggins around too. Doug Dwiggins, sorry. Yeah, the two Dougs. I should have remembered that. Pray for Caroline, and especially, but pray for Doug as well. I'm sure that this is heartbreaking for him. He's been a really great caregiver for Caroline for some time with this cancer. In addition, there are several others on our list. Lana Critch, who is Eileen's daughter-in-law down in Indianapolis. Linda Wagner is the daughter-in-law of Bill and Joyce Wagner. She is in North Carolina. Stephanie Stout is Betsy Green's niece. Betsy told me as the meeting began this morning that Stephanie will be having a surgery on Wednesday this week related to her cancer. So please be praying for her. Had to do with some cancer that was not eradicated in the first surgery, and so this is a follow-up. Please pray that that will go well and that Stephanie will soon recover great health. And also pray for the Growth's daughter in South Carolina, Cheryl Thomas, and Linda Cover, our friend down in Houston, Texas, all of them dealing with cancer, and all of their families and loved ones standing with them. Please pray for them all, that God will be with them. Please don't forget to pray today for Quakers all across the globe who are gathering in worship just like we did today, and ask the Lord to make his presence known in those gatherings. Pray for our farmers who are still raising big clouds of dust every day as you drive around, harvesting mostly soybeans, but the corn harvest is also underway. So please pray for their safety and just for their well-being as they go through this. Don't forget to pray for all the folks across the country who've been harmed by natural disasters of one kind or another, the storms and the fires and all the rest. Please also remember to pray, especially at this moment, for people who are being harmed by the government shutdown that is going to make life very inconvenient for some folks. When you see the reports of those things, regardless of your political alignments, pray for the people who are being harmed. It's so important that the folks who are responsible to make this right will get together and do that work. So pray for them too. And please pray for peace in a world that seems to just get more violent all the time. Ask the Lord to be present in the negotiations that are going on regarding Gaza, regarding Ukraine, and all the other places where people are not getting along. Those are the things on our list. For just a moment, we'll welcome anyone who has an urgent list. Eileen has her hand up.
Just a note on Lana. She does have cancer, as you know now, and we're waiting on one more test that they did, and it's very, very important test that'll decide what to do. So lots of prayers going her way, and Michael and the kids. And I asked Michael how the kids was handling it, and he said they've told him some stuff, but the age they're at, junior and senior, Mom will get some treatment and she'll be good. So it's not too bad to be young and think things is going to be good. So, and a note to liven things up, it struck me as funny when he said there was popcorn over there. Last night I went to the cabinet, I wanted popcorn, I have no popcorn. And I was really disappointed, and because I didn't want to eat chips or nothing. And then lo and behold, there's popcorn. over there. So, thank you.
Okay, we have to know, did Kristen pay you for that advertisement? Cleo McFarland.
This isn't a prayer concern, it's just a thank you. I wanted to express my thanks to all of you for your prayers and cards and all your condolences, and I can just feel the strength that you have passed through the Spirit. Thank you.
Thank you, Cleo. This truly is a family of faith. We're glad you're in the family. Anyone else? An urgent prayer concern to be added? No lights are flashing, no arms are waving. Would you pause with me and lift these things to the Lord and leave them in His care? Let's pray together. We thank you, Lord, for the privilege of being together in worship in your presence today, for the privilege of being with others who love you and serve you with their lives, who are still learning and growing and seeking you with all their hearts, and people who are not disacquainted, who are not unacquainted with what it means to wait upon you. We have talked about ways of doing that today. We really do ask that you will teach us, as that song that we sang says, teach us to stop and listen. Teach us to center in you. Help us to live that life. So we thank you that you are present on this day with all of the people that are mentioned on our prayer concern list. You know their problems, you know their needs, you know what to do in order to help them. So in this moment, we would simply agree together that we want you to do what you know is best in every life, and that you would make your presence and your comfort and your healing known in those lives, that you would encourage them and strengthen them and help them through what they are facing. We are so thankful, Lord, for our meeting. We're thankful for the privilege of being part of the Society of Friends, and we do pray today for those Quakers all around the world who are gathering to sing praises to you. We ask that you would make your presence known in every one of those gatherings today. We also ask, Lord, that you would go with us from this place with a new determination to wait upon you in our daily lives, and then to respond when you speak in obedience and in joy. Respond to do what you've asked us to do. We want to be effective for you in lives of ministry every day where we live and work. So we ask for your Spirit's help with that. We thank you again for all of the ways you've helped us already, and for all the ways that you still will act in these situations to bring about good. We love you, we worship you, we praise you together in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. Nancy's not, no, sit down, just relax. We've had some music today. We'll just say, folks, you are at liberty. We are grateful that you joined us today. Have a wonderful remainder of your World Quaker Day. Go in peace. The Lord bless you all.